Good morning. I grew up in the shadow of PTL, Jim and Tammy Bakker. You may remember them. Famous televangelists that took people's money, preyed on those who really didn't have money to give, and used it for gold-plated fixtures in their house and air-conditioned dog houses and all of this kind of thing. They are kind of a symbol of excesses in ministry, and therefore they're a model for ministry of me, not of how to do ministry, but how not to do ministry. Unfortunately, maybe in some ways, Jim Bakker still is. He's gotten in trouble recently for selling a product on his ministry that he claimed would cure coronavirus, and so it seems like the Bakker of old and the Bakker of new may be kind of similar. And in some ways, they do not epitomize, if you will, or maybe they appear in a different kind of way in the 10th chapter of the Gospel of John, where Jesus says, and I'm going to read today from the Message, let me set this before you as plainly as I can. If a person climbs over or through the fence of a sheep pen, instead of going through the gate, you know he's up to no good, a sheep rustler. The shepherd walks right up to the gate. The gatekeeper opens the gate to him, and the sheep recognize his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he gets them all out, he leads them, and they follow, because they are familiar with his voice. They won't follow a stranger's voice, but will scatter, because they aren't used to the sound of it. Jesus told this simple story, but they had no idea what he was talking about. And I wonder if part of the reason they had no idea what he was talking about was that we all struggle to hear the voice of the shepherd. And we want to follow the voice of the good shepherd. And yet, like Jim and Tammy Bakker and those who followed them, we all can be led astray. Maybe, hopefully, not perhaps as brazenly as they led people astray, or perhaps not follow people who are that brazen, but we all are capable of doing that. And as I read this passage this morning and was thinking through it, I was wondering, how, Jesus, do I know that I am following your voice? How do I know your voice for sure? And that's actually what got me thinking about Jim Bakker. And it wasn't the Bakker of the past or the Bakker of the present, but the Bakker that was in the middle there. After Jim Bakker got out of prison and was kind of trying to rebuild his life, he wrote this wonderful book. And the title of the book was, I Was Wrong. And in the book, he confessed that as his ministry began to grow there in Fort Mill, South Carolina, he was the CEO of the ministry, and he was on TV all of the time and trying to organize and arrange and take care of all of the different aspects of that ministry. He quit having time to pray. He quit taking the time to read the Bible, and he convinced himself that he was so busy working for Jesus that he just didn't have time to be with Jesus, but that was okay. And he says in the book that that was what led to his downfall, that he stopped listening to the voice of the shepherd. And even though he started that ministry with the absolute best of intentions, it went awry because he stopped listening to the voice of the shepherd. How do we know the voice of the shepherd? First, every single day we have to find a way to listen for the voice of Christ. How are you speaking to me today? The Scriptures are a wonderful way for us to do that, but not simply reading the Scriptures, but asking, what is this saying to me today? What, Jesus, are you saying to me today? When I hear the voice of the shepherd, I know that I'm going to hear a voice of love and of grace, the voice of one who cares about me so much he won't let me get away with being less than what I am supposed to be and what I can be. During this time of being sheltered in place, our family has done a remarkably good job of getting along, and it's actually going to be something we look back on, I think, with fondness, the time that we were sheltered in place, not remembering all of it with fondness, but the family togetherness that we've had. But we have had our moments, as all families do, and two times in particular in this time, I've had to go to family members and say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I said. I'm sorry for what I did. I was wrong. The way I got to the place of doing that was hearing the voice of the shepherd saying to me, you can make all the excuses you want to make for what you said or for what you did. You can come up with all kinds of reasons or whatever for what you did, but you simply need to apologize. You were wrong. And I heard the voice of the shepherd and I responded, and I think that helped our family dynamics. Rather than creating resentment, I was offered grace in return for those confessions, and we were able to move forward. When we hear the voice of the one who loves us, it will be the voice of one who lives life as poetry in motion. Grace and love, forgiveness, and a relentless insistence that we be who we are called to be. And so on this day, I encourage you not simply to watch the video, but to find ways to hear the voice of the real shepherd and to respond to whatever it is that Jesus is saying to you this day. Because Jesus is raised from the dead, here is the good news. God is with us. Amen.